Are you accustomed to repeating or chanting, or can I just give the class? Huh? We typically chant together? Oh, okay. Mahashaya sapta purve chatvaro manasva tata madbhava manasa jata yesham loka imam prajaha Maharshri Shraya. The great sages. Sapta. 7. Purve. Before. Chatvaraha. 4. Manavaha. Manus. Tata. Also. Mat. Matbhavaha. Born of me. Manasaha. From the mind. Jataha. Born. Yesham. Of them. Loke. In the world. Imaha. Of this. Prajaha. Population. The 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Okay, there's lots of ways to give class. I joined at a time in our society when we spent a lot of time having classes. And the classes were where we would gather together. We would read all the books, 5 books a day, 5 classes, 6 classes a day. And we would share to some extent. We would discuss to some extent. And that's how the early society developed before, frankly, that stopped being the standard. I don't know, I'm hoping that in some temples this is still going on, but the idea is to come in contact with Srila Prabhupada's books as much as possible. So, who is speaking? This is Krishna on the battlefield. This is the opulence of the Absolute. And we're hearing all about these amazing features of the Godhead, of the Absolute Truth. But who's speaking, frankly? Yeah, Krishna is speaking. Now, when we mention someone's name, then we say, who are they? What do we say? What do we describe sometimes? Who is that? It's a name, but then there's a, no, what? Oh, he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, yes. But who's talking to who? Yeah, and what's going on there? I mean, Krishna sometimes calls Arjuna Partha, for instance. What's that all about? Partha, do you know what that means? Yeah, son of Prita. Prita is Kunti. Who's Kunti in relation to Krishna? Aunt. Vasudev's sister. Well, this is amazing. Krishna is on the battlefield. He's talking to a warrior in a chariot before a battle is about to take place. And there are so many personalities and activities going on, intrigue, relationships. Different qualities are being manifest. And Krishna is describing these incredible qualities, which later he says is but a spark or just a part of his splendor. Krishna says later in the chapter, what is it? Mama teja hamsa sambhavan. That this is but a spark of my splendor. Only a part. But yet, this is Krishna standing on a chariot or with his nephew, right? Can someone explain how this is possible? That, I mean, this seems to be amazing. That Krishna is talking to Arjuna, referring to his aunt. He has a relationship with Arjuna, he cares about Arjuna, and he's talking about all these amazing things. Well, one thing is to be sure is that the absolute truth is a person. And the message, which is never to be forgotten, you see, Srila Prabhupada used to again and again, when he first came to the United States, he would refer to Dr. Radhakrishna's Bhagavad-Gita. And he would have the devotees read it, because the Macmillan published Gita was not ready then. So they only had that version. And again he would have the devotees read that verse where Dr. Radhakrishna says, "It is not unto Krishna to whom you are to surrender, but to the unborn, unmanifest within Krishna." And then Srila Prabhupada would attack this point of view. So Bhagavad Gita as it is means Krishna is standing with his nephew on the battle, discussing a battle, and talking about Arjuna's interests, personal interests, what is good for him, what's not good for him. Well, it's a pretty amazing thing. On one hand, when we say Krishna is standing, who is this Krishna? We've established that he has a relationship with Arjuna from a family point of view. What other things can we say about Krishna? What are the four unique qualities of Krishna? You know, there are 64. So what are the four unique qualities? Anybody? You know, Vishnu, Narayan has so many majestic qualities, which even supersede Lord Shiva. And yet Krishna, he has four other qualities that are unique to him. Huh? Okay, which would mean that he has the Venu. You're referring to the flute? Oh, I thought you said Venu, I'm sorry. Yes, exactly, flute, all right. So he plays the flute. So this this majestic Lord of the universe who controls everything, there's no greater, is the supreme Parameshwara, Ishwara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Anandira Dir Govindaha, Sarva Karna Karnam. But he's playing the flute. So help me along here. What are the other three qualities? Some of you. Okay, he has lila, special pastimes. Who does he have the pastimes with? His dear devotees. And he has a unique beauty that goes beyond majesty, that is endearing to his devotees, to Mother Jasoda, to the gopis, to the gopas. Thank you. So this is who is speaking, though. The disease of material life from Srila Prabhupada was attacking, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi, what he was attacking was this notion that to escape from the material world, which is on fire, okay, Buddhism, they also want to escape, right? They want to escape from the material world. So how do you escape? So the assumption was always you go somewhere where there are no qualities, because the material world is full of qualities. You have to go somewhere where there are no qualities. You want to get away from it. You have to hide or take shelter of some, so this is the Brahman or Pradhan or something that's beyond. It's formless. But here Krishna is on the chariot. This is the lesson to me. He's on the chariot talking to his nephew, and he's discussing so many things. He even says, oh, look at the enemy, it's aligned here today. He's commenting. But who is this Krishna? Krishna has so many relations. He has so many pastimes. He has so many devotees who he interacts with, okay? And he even plays a flute. I mean, this is the amazing thing. That the Supreme Lord, when he manifests all these qualities of Vyakta that are beyond, at the same time, Krishna says, I am not in that. I am outside of that. So on one hand, he's manifesting these opulences of the Absolute, and yet he has nothing to do with them. He's always engaged in his Nitya Leela. And he's manifesting one of those Leelas right now with Arjuna. When Mother Jasoda looks in Krishna's mouth and she sees all the universes, which are amazing, just like the amazing qualities described in this chapter, she's bewildered, but she doesn't want to have anything to do with it. Wants to go beyond that. But the real lesson is that when we speak of Krishna, we are speaking of a person in every respect. And that he has these pastimes, these wonderful pastimes with his loving devotees. And so this is the great message of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. That the absolute truth comes as a person, is a person, is a person. And that we are persons, and that we are all connected to that person. So that never stops, no matter what's going on. No matter what aspect of Krishna we are focusing on, that never stops. And this is the message of Srila Prabhupada. And it was the unique message, because so many personalities have attempted to degrade the Bhagavad-Gita to the point where it becomes an impersonal kind of a representation, a kind of an allegory. Once one of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, after reading Dr. Radhakrishna's Gita, said, well, you know, I think he has some good points. This was during a class. And Srila Prabhupada said, okay, what are you trying to explain? He said, well, and then he tried to explain that maybe he has a good point, you know. He's explaining the Absolute, and the Absolute is beyond our conception. And Prabhupada's listening. He says, are you through yet? He says, no, I'll explain a little more. This person had a PhD, you know. He went on and on and on. And he said, are you through now? He says, okay, I'm done. And then Prabhupada stood up on the Vyasasana. This is in 26 Second Avenue. He stood up on top of the Vyasasana and shouted at the disciple. We have no room, we have no tolerance for this snake or this witch of impersonalism. The Goswamis preached against this. It's not only that they described the variegated qualities of the absolute truth and taught us to worship Krishna using with all the emotions which are pervertedly expressed in the material world, but they also condemned all forms of impersonalism. So we should never fall prey when we're reading this chapter to forget who is speaking, because these qualities could be ascribed to merely aspects of Narayan or even aspects of the unmanifest that sometimes appears and disappears, just like waves in the ocean, formless and then appearing to form and then again disappearing, as is impersonal philosophy as is described. So the whole, the amazing thing, that's why Arjuna says, my hairs are standing on end, is that all of these qualities which are described in Bhagavad-Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, all the different incarnations, before we go to the 10th canto, we read all about the different qualities, pastimes, aspects of the absolute truth, and understand those underlying qualities. But beyond that is the person that always is there. And this is the special message, and this is what we take shelter of in Krishna consciousness. When we chant the Maha Mantra, we are chanting to the person Krishna, to that same Krishna who has Leela, who has pastimes. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Hiranyagarbha. Does anybody here know what Hiranyagarbha means? It actually refers to the stage before Brahma was born. It's the egg at the beginning of the universe in the lotus. Lord Brahma was born of the lotus. And from Brahma, all the 7 sages, and for them 4 other great sages named Sanaka, Sanatan, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumar, and the 14 Manus are manifested. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. Okay, so again, life comes from life. Krishna is the original, and then another and another and another, but life comes from life. The same problem, modern science, the initial concept from the beginning is that life does not come from life. That's their mantra. They are going to find out where's the source. So right from the beginning, they're in ignorance. And right from the beginning, all the schools are teaching poison. Right from the beginning, the very foundation of education is ignorance. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmadasya Yata, the first verse, explains, and as Prabhupada says in the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam, that everything is done by a person. Everything that manifests is ultimately personal. All aspects of government are ultimately personal. So again, the message of Krishna consciousness is personalism. Approaching the Supreme Person, who is the source of all other persons. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe, and each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of the 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods before he realized, by the grace of Krishna, how to create. Then from Brahma came Sananda, and Sanat Kumar. When Rudra, then Rudra, and then the 7 sages. And in this way all the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are born of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is born as Pitama, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Prapitama, Pitamaha, the father of grandfather. That is stated in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita. So, our parampara is also like this. We are understanding that the knowledge is descending. Everything in Krishna consciousness is dependent on another person, ultimately leading back to the Supreme Person. Therefore, we're not afraid to argue with the impersonal conception. You might have heard of the devotee Harigriva. He was working with Srila Prabhupada to translate Srimad Bhagavatam, or he did a lot of the editing. And he told me once that in the very beginning, Srila Prabhupada was always referring to the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis this, the Mayavadis that. And he couldn't figure out who these Mayavadis were. He thought they were some strange sect that Srila Prabhupada had a problem with back in India. But later on he figured out it was us. He was referring to us. We're the Mayavadis. Srila Prabhupada wasn't directly attacking, he was referring to the Mayavadis. And this is the why is the Mayavadi philosophy there? Because it is a trick, simply to avoid the devotion to the Supreme Person, to give him attributes, to give him qualities, to give an opportunity to interact. And Vaishnavism is the exact opposite. It's to always expose ourselves to the different aspects of Krishna and Krishna Lila, his qualities, his pastimes, his paraphernalia. And by doing that, we become purified and of this disease of Mayavada. Mukti and bhukti, those are the enemies. To merge into the absolute or sense gratification. Those are the two enemies. So we're always, how to avoid? By positive, or the higher taste. So therefore, when we're reading even this chapter, we should realize that it's Krishna who is speaking, and he doesn't change. It's not that he changes when he manifests these different aspects of his glories, his splendor. He never changes. He's always there. He's always aloof. He's always the Supreme Person. And various aspects of him are manifest for various purposes, for his pleasure. But he never changes. If you take anything and you want to turn it, use it for a certain purpose, you have to change it. But Krishna never changes. He's aloof. So this is the unique quality. Now, Mayavad philosophy assumes that in order for God, or the Godhead, to manifest in various forms, he has to change, always change. That he is mutable. And that ultimately the form that we see of Krishna is merely just one form that he takes. So this is the disease. And we can see how it is manifest in society in different ways. So there's the next verse here. Etam vibhutim yogam cha mamayo veti tatvataha. So vyakalpena yogina yujyate natra samsashaha. One who is factually convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mine engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. So this is the fruit, the practical fruit of seeing or understanding or being amazed by this meditation. That's the purpose of Bhagavad-Gita. So being amazed by that meditation. What is to be amazed? That Krishna remains the Supreme Person. And that he continues to be Arjuna's friend. He continues to be the child of Mother Jasoda. He continues to be the consort of Radharani. Those things never change. And yet he's still manifesting these qualities. So it's these characteristics are not Krishna's limited energy. Purport: the highest summit of spiritual perfection is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless one is firmly convinced of the different opulences of the Supreme Lord, he cannot engage in devotional service. Generally, people know that God is great, but they do not know in detail how God is great. So this is the point. Here are details. If one knows factually how God is great, then naturally he becomes a surrendered soul and engages himself in devotional service of the Lord. When one factually knows the opulences of the Supreme, there is no alternative but to surrender to him. This factual knowledge can be known from the descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-Gita and similar literatures. In the administration of this universe, there are many demigods distributed throughout the planetary system, and the chief of them are Brahma, Lord Shiva, and the 4 great Kumaras, and other patriarchs. There are many forefathers of the population of the universe, and all of them are born of the Supreme Lord Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the original forefather of all forefathers. These are some of the opulences of the Supreme Lord. When one is firmly convinced of them, he accepts Krishna with great faith and without doubt, and he engages in devotional service. So the whole point of Bhagavad-Gita is to surrender to Krishna. And how to surrender to Krishna is explained through the Parampara. That one has to accept him as a person unto whom we engage in exchange. Who we meditate upon as a person. Therefore the holy name, starting with the name, the 9 forms of devotional service, all require us to understand that God is a person. He's the Supreme Person. He's the cause of all causes. He's the Parameshwara. But he has these attractive qualities. And by meditating on them, automatically the dust and the heart are purified. That is the real process. All of this particular knowledge is required in order to increase one's interest in the loving service of the Lord. One should not neglect understanding fully. One should not neglect to understand fully how great Krishna is. For by knowing the greatness of Krishna, one will be able to be fixed in sincere devotional service. This is the reason for repeated reading of Bhagavad-Gita in Srimad Bhagavatam is to always appreciate all of the pastimes and qualities and the unique nature of Krishna, of which we are a part. We are but a wherever there is Krishna, there is his devotees. Sometimes in the early time in the movement, a devotee would paint some kind of feature of Krishna, but alone. And Prabhupada would say this is not accepted. The Krishna is always engaged with his devotees. And the devotee is ultimately claiming Krishna. When we finally come to, when Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya were discussing how to approach Krishna, the transcendental relationship wherein one sees himself as the servant of Krishna, but the emphasis is not just master, but my master. It's personal. It's my master. And I am his servant. So the emphasis on the personal. These are the special nature of devotional service. When we leave out the personal, then we're wasting our time, according to Lord Chaitanya, according to Ramananda Roy. That we have to identify with our relationship with Krishna as a person. And therefore the Hare Krishna mantra is the same. When we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, we're calling out like a child for its mother. The relationship is one of a person depending on another. So devotional service means depending on Krishna as a person, and that we are persons. And we should not become sidetracked by impersonal tendencies or to see Krishna as somehow or other burdened. Srila Prabhupada said, when Krishna is lifting Govardhan Hill, he's not like Atlas, who is struggling to lift up the earth. He is independent. He's always independent as a person. And therefore, these opulences of the absolute truth ultimately are just to demonstrate Krishna's strength, his power, the six opulences of the absolute, to confirm that he is the Supreme Person. But he never stops being Arjun's nephew. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He never stops. He never quits engaging in his pastimes with the devotees. These are all handled. Just like it says What's the exact verse, actually? Mama tejo amsa sambhavan. Yeah, that's what I thought. So amsa means, Krishna says, this has been a part of my, a small part, amsa, an extension or an aspect of my splendor, tejo. So Krishna is never burdened by these. He's independent. He's only really interested in interaction with his devotees. And therefore, that's why Arjuna chose Krishna. He could have chosen his army, but he chose Krishna. Because he's just depending on Krishna. So, the majesty of the Absolute, in one sense, is not interesting to the Vaishnavas. On the other hand, it is humbling, and we recognize what is our position. But we should never think that Krishna is struggling to manifest. These are being handled by Amsa, some aspect of Krishna. When he manifests the material world, he does it through Mahavishnu. Actually, a plenary portion of a portion. Chakshay Vishnu and so forth. It's always an extension of Krishna, whereas Krishna Leela goes on, and he's never burdened. Any questions? Yes.
As you say that the surrender to Krishna, where in Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavatam we see that Vishnu Pita,
Krishna Katha?
Bhishma Pita,
Bhishma?
Bhishma Pita, Bhishma, he knew Krishna is the Lord, but he could not surrender him. So what is the reason?
Well, I don't agree with you. I think he surrendered to him perfectly.
He was in the
Exactly. So the enigma of all of these great devotees of Krishna engaging in his pastimes, sometimes even taking inimical positions. Yeah. Well, that is inexplicable. I mean, we cannot delve into all of the pastimes of Krishna and understand. We only know that Krishna wanted to manifest these pastimes, and therefore he had to have all kinds of interactions. So Bhishma was fulfilling a desire. Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna is manifesting these qualities in a mood of like sometimes when you wrestle with a child, there appears to be some fighting going on. So yeah, I mean, the Mahabharata is full of questions. Poor Karna. What happened to Karna? What a mess. But and Krishna told Arjuna to shoot him with his arrow when he was in a compromised situation. What is the ultimate message of Mahabharata? Be on Krishna's team. It starts with Arjuna. He wants Krishna. Right from the beginning we get it. He just wants Krishna. He doesn't know, there's nothing beyond that. He can't explain it. Duryodhana laughs. Duryodhana thinks, well, you blew it. I'm going for the army. I thought you came for the army. I'm going for the army. Why'd you do that? He doesn't get it. So the real message, if you look in Mahabharata, Be on Krishna's team, if I may be so crass. Be part of Krishna's family. Identify with Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna. Embrace Krishna. And how did Bhishma receive the arrows that that Arjuna sent? Krishna told Arjuna, kill him. Was it not? There was some hesitation, wasn't there? Arjuna was hesitating. Isn't it normal? We would think, yes, of course he would be hesitating. Krishna induced him. And how did Bhishma experience the arrows? Anybody? Yes, maybe like kisses, like biting of a lover. Woof. So, why? Because it's in connection with Krishna. The person, Krishna. See, Prabhupada says we're sitting on Krishna. Krishna's everywhere. But it's that we can't avoid Krishna. It's a question of, are we going to accept him as a person or not? That's the only difference. Are we going to accept him as a person and that we have a relationship with him favorable to devotional service? Rupa Goswami says devotional service must be favorably executed. So we know that Kamsa had a relationship with Krishna, but that was not favorable. We know that everybody has a relationship with Krishna, dormant, and everybody is depending on Krishna, and everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. So Krishna is always there. Now the question is, what is the relationship? So is it favorable? Your question, of course, is a very good one. I don't have a perfect answer. I think it's not supposed to be perfect.
Just like this is our intelligence and mind is whatever the mind is doing, intelligence is doing. So this mind and intelligence also is
mind and intelligence is
also given by Krishna. So he is giving somebody good mind, somebody giving bad mind.
yeah. Right.
So similarly, in this material world, there are so many people, they come to take darshan of Lord Krishna in a different manner. They come here to go and take darshan, but actually they are not surrendered.
Correct.
So some intelligence is Krishna is giving.
Correct.
To go and take darshan, whether you have surrender or no.
Right.
You take darshan.
Right.
So they come for darshan. And
right.
Those who are devotees, they are totally surrendered. They 24 hours think about him.
Right.
Hare Krishna,
right.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
right.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So this differences he is having. We say Krishna doesn't make differences between anyone, but here we find the differences. How the differences are here?
Correct. But the wonderful thing is that by taking darshan, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, Prabhupada says that when the iron rod is in the fire, it becomes like the fire, so it acts. We can delight in that. We can take great satisfaction in knowing that when people are hearing the Hare Krishna mantra, taking darshan of Krishna, taking Krishna prasadam, hearing Krishna Hari Katha, it is acting. We can take great pleasure and satisfaction in that. And Bhishma was very Krishna conscious. There's no question of that. But he was fulfilling a certain pastime.
Yes, he was thinking that now I will take Krishna and see whether Krishna keeps his promise. So he was Krishna conscious.
Very much. Very much. So through sadhana bhakti, without interruption, one can approach Krishna. And then these other nitya siddha and all that will manifest automatically. We don't have to worry about that. We simply have to take shelter of the spiritual master who is acting on behalf of Krishna. Prabhupada used to say, yeah, my body, because there's the Vanu and the Vapi, the Vani and the Vapu. And he said, because I'm acting on behalf of Krishna, Krishna is accepting the service. Actually, everything is done through the spiritual master. He used to say, when you're washing the floor, I'm washing. Actually, I'm washing the floor. You're just acting on my behalf. If you're printing a book and working for BBT, actually, I am printing the book. This is a good thing, because then we get some credit. Otherwise, we don't get any credit. We're not qualified. We cannot understand Krishna, but we can expose ourselves to Krishna and become purified. But we should never forget who is Krishna. That's all I'm trying to say today. That when we read about these aspects or qualities of the Godhead, that Krishna always still remains the supreme person, independent, having loving pastimes with his devotees. No matter how he manifests or how he expresses himself, he never changes. Anything else? Yes. Pardon me? Did I say nephew? Is that correct?
You said nephew.
Yeah, I meant that he's cousin nephew. Oh, kind of, yeah, cousin. I got it wrong. Sorry. Yeah, I'm saying it wrong. Yeah. Yeah. Well, because he's because his brother's sister, his father's sister. Yeah. So yeah, cousin. So they have that relationship. And this runs counter to all of the impersonal concepts. These are considered to be, this is actually the essence of Krishna consciousness, is to understand these personal relationships. And by meditating upon them, then our heart melts and we become personal. Otherwise, it's not possible for us to enter into the pastimes and to become a devotee of Krishna on the highest level, become purified. If we don't accept the pastimes, we don't accept the relationships. Yeah, thank you for that. Because usually God is described as a very powerful person. So Krishna is being described here as, the Parameshwara, and he's displaying all these special qualities. But this is all insignificant for the Vaishnava. Prabhupada said it's a prerequisite to say God is great. That's a prerequisite, to be humbled. But in the end, Arjuna didn't even want to see this when he saw the universal form. Actually, that is not... When the gopis were looking for Krishna, after he had disappeared, how did he trick them? How did he appear? Yes, yes. And they just looked past him. Have you seen Krishna? That's all they wanted to know. But he had difficulty. He had difficulty because Krishna, being the supreme person, is conquered by his devotees. So this is the going back and forth. So it was with Bhishma and Krishna. They were having a leela, like you said. Would he really not protect his devotee? So then he broke his promise. Again, very personal. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna.